Hey there, I am hopping in to pre-introduce you to the next video because quite frankly, I recorded this video several weeks ago when we were more in the thick of the summer, and now we are towards the end of the summer with just about a week and a half or 2 weeks, at least for most of us parents, to go and kids. And so I wanted to jump in here to share that this is still applicable. You know, in the video, I talk about summer and how this one thing that you can do that with your kids that will help you get more done as a parent applies through the summer months. And I want to shout out that it applies in any season that you're in. So if you are a working parent and you've got kids who are headed into this distance learning situation, at least maybe for this fall, right? And then we'll just kind of see how it goes. And you're feeling a little anxious, or you're wondering how the hell you're going to be able to navigate this time. I think that this can really help. This one thing that I share with you that you can do with your kids to help set up some structure, some expectation, to put your mind at ease, to actually help to alleviate some of the stress that comes along with the uncertainty, the everyday, and the kids wondering what's going on, and you wondering what's going on and how you're going to be able to support them in a way that's meaningful and helpful, while also maintaining your own sanity and being able to show up for your work, your professional work. So again, just a shout out to let you know, while I'm using the language of summer, still very applicable for any season that you're in with your kids, and you can do this at any time. I just happen to do it most often in the summer. And I gotta share, I'm going to be doing this really soon with my kids again for this upcoming school season. Sure do hope it's helpful, and I'll see you soon. Hello, my name is Tina Dodds, coach, speaker, educator, and self-care crusader who helps working moms cut through the noise, connect with what matters most, and optimize their well-being so they can go out into the world and do awesome stuff, as well as be there for the people that they love the most in ways that are meaningful and amazing. I'm hopping in here today to talk to you about one thing that you can do that will change the landscape of the days that you have left this summer with your kids. You want to hear what that's about? More recently, I actually did this exercise myself. Actually, we did it a little later in the year than usual. I'm gonna claim Corona, like Corona wasted, if you will. But this activity is really a brainstorm. And I don't know how many of you out there do this for yourselves, right? Where you create a vision for how you want things to be. You create this vision, then you kind of explore, like, how would that make you feel? And then you start thinking about what's in the way from you getting or creating the thing that you're wanting to create. Why don't you have it? Why doesn't it look like that yet? And then you start to build in steps that help you get closer to that which you desire, right? So this is no different with our kids. And a few years ago, I started doing this process with my kids at the beginning of the summer. And I want to share with you the 4 things that I talk about with my kids during this brainstorming, creating a vision, which ultimately helps me, a working mom of 2 boys, one in elementary and one in middle school, get through the days because I'm working at home. And actually, that's how I roll, even when we're not sheltering in place. So we've spent the last several summers with me working from home, and figuring out how my kids can navigate their day while I'm doing that, right? So now there's more of us doing this, and I want to pull back the curtain a little bit and give you a tool that you can use. So I mentioned 4 things, right? What are the 4 things that we brainstorm together? And by the way, if you've got big old Post-it note paper, I highly recommend it, because you can slap that up on the wall. This is paper that I use with my clients when we're brainstorming. But you can slap that on the wall, and then each kid can have their own piece of paper and some pens, and they can start writing. Now, you don't have to, I've not always had this paper handy. In the absence of this big old poster paper or like poster board, you can just write it down on a piece of paper. And what I do is I grab that paper, pens, like colorful pens, and a timer. And actually on Zoom, I look up some Jeopardy music or some kind of music the kids think is fun, so that when we're brainstorming, we're all, in our zones brainstorming, we can have some fun, playful music in the back. I like the Jeopardy music, like doo, 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 and they think that's kind of a kick in the pants. So anyhow, what are the 4 things? Let me tell you what those 4 things are. The first one is, what do you want to do this summer? What would be fun this summer? Now, I'm fully aware of the times that we are in, right? So I don't take that lightly. And I understand that the kids are going to want to be doing things, like ideally, right? Sky's the limit, that may not be in the realm of possibility. However, don't you put a damper on that imagination, right? Like, actually encourage them to think about all the things. What are the things that they would love to do this summer? Maybe that's a trip to Japan. That's one of my sons. I would love to take a trip to Japan and visit the blossoms and go to the bridges and all of these things, right? Great. Have them write that stuff down and have them write everything that they can think of in that space. So I usually set a timer for about 5 minutes. Now, depending on the age of your kids, mine are 10 and 12, right? 5 minutes works for them, and sometimes it's a little bit long, but it all just depends. So maybe that's a minute, or maybe that's 2 minutes, and maybe you're helping, with some ideas to kind of get the rails waxed, if you will. So that's the first thing we do. We think about, what is it that we want to do for the summer? And then the second thing is, how can we each contribute to the family? What are the ways in which we'd like to contribute to the family, like the everyday kind of ins and outs? So really that's like code word for chores. And I kind of push that along, like, things that need to be done in order for us to live in a clutter-free, healthy space, right? A space that helps us to do our best thinking, a space that we can relax in, all of those things. And oftentimes I'll list a whole bunch out. Now, my kids have been doing this for a few years, so they know what I'm talking about. And they actually use this as an opportunity to list what their preferred chores are, what their preferred contributions are. Maybe for your kids, it's they want to help with dinner, or maybe they want to help with cleanup, or maybe, you've got an animal and they want to feed, the pet or what have you. And know that even if your kid's like 5, if you Google it, right, and I'm sure maybe you've seen this, that there are chores for every age. There are things that kids can do to contribute to the family on the daily that are age appropriate, right? So you might want to look that up and see what's age appropriate. But so they can start writing, like, well, how would they like to contribute? So again, that's probably not 5 minutes. Maybe that's like 2 minutes. They're like, I'd like to sleep, and that's it. For my kids, they wrote down a few other things as well. So then that's the second thing. So what are the 2 things? I'm looking at my paper here because I've got my boys' poster boards up on the wall in my office. So 1 is the things that they want to do this summer. The 2 are the ways that they'd like to contribute every day to the family. 3 was, this year's a little bit different. The 3 I went with daily schedule. Like, how would you like to spend your day? And again, this is a question you can ask a kid that's younger. And it might just be really interesting to see what they come up with, right? If they've seen you at home and how you're spending your day, maybe it's like y'all wake up and you have breakfast, maybe you tidy the house a little bit, then maybe you go into your office and maybe they have screen time, or maybe they're reading, or maybe whatever. I don't know what your day looks like. But maybe they have an idea of how they would like to spend their day. What's their ideal schedule, right? And so my boys had come up with a few things. For instance, like my youngest was like, I wake up I go on a walk. I do chores. I have 30 minutes of screen time, basically. And again, my kids are a little bit more practiced. They've been doing it for a few years, but out the gate, maybe they just, I want to have screen time. I want to make sure I eat, you know, and at what times of the day might those things be? Now, let me tell you this, kind of like parent insider here, insider secrets. Before you do this with your kids, do it by yourself. And do it, you know, answer the same questions and ask yourself, what do you want your day to look like? And what might be your vision for your kids' schedule, right? Like, waking up and having some breakfast, maybe that's breakfast together, maybe going on a walk, then building out your work hours. Maybe it's in 2-hour chunks. If you've got the kids home and you don't have backup, maybe it's that you work for an hour and you take 10 minutes break to check in, and then you'd work for another hour. Maybe it's you have to work for 3 hours in a row, and then you take a break and you check in or what have you. You know, something about a schedule, like having a schedule. And I've met many a parent who are like, nah, that's not how we roll. We kind of wake up at this time and I'm doing this, and maybe every day is different. And I just want to speak to that for a second. That might work for some folks. But the feedback that I hear from the folks that are rolling like that is that they're freaking exhausted, and they feel like their day is like 2 days crammed, like it never ends, or they can't, like the end of the day can't get here soon enough. And I just want to tell you, a schedule, right? And also having this for your kids, structure, gives them a sense of certainty, gives yourself a sense of certainty, expectation, right? Like, you know what to expect, and you have less energy, like brain energy, physical energy, resources going to thinking up what the next step is. If it's laid out, right, maybe not 100% perfect, but if you have a general guideline for the day, for every day, you're going to be spending so much less energy and have the capacity to engage in activities that actually you enjoy, right? To actually maybe have some downtime in your day because that structure is in place. So just kind of like shout out for structure and schedules, right? So that's the third thing is, you know, what would be your ideal schedule? And then the fourth thing, and this, I don't believe I did this the last couple of years, but it was, what makes you happy? And I think this came forward in this time that we're in sheltering in place, with all the social injustice that is happening, this social revolution that's taking place, can be so heavy and can, you know, and can make, I mean, and I'm going to speak for myself, you know, and my kids, one of which who is a highly sensitive person. That sadness, that fear, that uncertainty, that anger can really sink in and stay a while. And if we're not conscious, if we're not actively engaging with our joy, what brings us joy, what we know to boost our mood, our spirits, then we risk staying in that space, again, like having that fear, that sadness, that anger camp out a whole lot longer than maybe it needs to. And then we're not experiencing joy. And man, when we're not experiencing joy, I mean, quite honestly, it just freaking sucks. Our days are long, we're exhausted. And so we need spirit lifters. We need joy triggers throughout our day. So I asked my kids, and I did it myself, what makes you happy? And some of the answers, again, I'm gonna look at my little cheat sheet. One of my sons writes like so tiny. Screen time, right? Like gaming. The other thing was playing and hanging out with friends, which we haven't had very much of. Zoom calls here and there. Animals. We have a cat. There are cats in our neighborhood. My boys, they walk most days of the week. And they have found tremendous joy in befriending our neighborhood cats. Like they take one walk and there's one cat that kind of looks like ours, but it's got more fur. And man, they love that cat. And that cat comes over and nuzzles them, and they are so excited. They like seek him out. They take that walking route just to seek him out. So anyways, animals, our cat, watching YouTube videos, editing, drawing, you know, those types of things. So in getting curious with your kids about what makes them happy. So then we have a list, right? And when you have downtime, right, or if you're working and they need to be engaged, then you can go, oh, maybe I can find them some cool pens and paper so that they can draw. I know that makes them happy. Or maybe we can find some YouTube. My kids love YouTube videos. YouTube videos, tutorials. Like one day I took a time out from work and we sat at the table and I drew anime. Like we each on our respective devices picked a drawing tutorial and then drew for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes and then showed each other what we drew. So knowing what your kids enjoy, right? Then you can make a conscious effort to integrate that into every day. It actually, again, first time that I did it this year, and it was pretty profound, and they were excited to talk about it, right? So this is the other thing. So we do this brainstorm. We spend a few minutes on each one of these categories. Let's go over the categories again. It's things that they want to do this summer. The chores are how they're helping out the family, their daily schedules, their vision for their daily schedules, and things that make them happy. So spending a few minutes in each one of these areas, and then I have them each present their findings, right? They present their brainstorm and they tell me a little bit more about it. Then I can maybe ask some questions. Tell me a little bit more about that. What's that like? You know, things that my boys wanted to do. They want to have a yes day, and there are YouTube videos out there where parents just say yes all day. Maybe they want to go on a shopping spree, or they want to play video games, or they want pizza for lunch and dinner, and then they want a dessert, you know, all of that. So both of my boys love yes days, and we set guidelines around that. Like, we ain't going crazy. The other thing was like infinite screen day, because we have some pretty strong boundaries around screen time, and they want a day where they don't have any, like they just wake up, and one of my sons wakes up at like 5. He wants to roll out of bed, have breakfast, and then play until like 8, right? And we've done this in the past, where we've allowed for this to happen, and with minimal breaks. Like we tell him we gotta get up and stretch, but and it's like he's overjoyed. And man, we can ride the returns on that for days. All right, so that's it. So then you talk about that, and then at the end, you begin to piece all this together to create an outline for your day. Now, knowing that you did this ahead of time as the parent, like you can create some structure and you can integrate their ideas. So now they're taking ownership of this. It's not just like you sat them down and like, this is all the things you have to do. You have to do exactly what I thought up and buy into it. No. You know, we need to get their buy-in. They need to own it, right? Parts of it at least. And so from that, I created a basically kind of like a worksheet, which has each of their respective chores, because they're different, with a checkbox. And in the morning, before they do anything else, they have to make sure that they pick up around the house and do their chores. They have enrichment activities, you know, particular time. And then once they do all of those things and they've checked off all the boxes, and I've been really specific about what that looks like, because one of my sons is like the devil's in the details, and if I don't write it down, then he's like, you didn't say. So make sure you're real clear about it. But then once they're done, they can be autonomous. They can actually do whatever the next thing is, and it's the thing that they enjoy, and they can do that, you know, throughout the day. So there's expectations for how the day is going to flow, both that suits you, the parent, who may be working at home like me, and also suits them, so that they're engaging in activities that are fulfilling, that are spirit lifting for them, that help them, you know, be engaged, right? And there's also free time. Like, we don't have to schedule every freaking minute of every day. Actually, our kids need a whole lot of open space, right? Where they can just be bored, Being bored is important. You get real creative when you're bored. I try to sell that to my kids. So that's a hard sell. But honestly, after the hard sell, then they start, creating things, working with cardboard, duct tape, and that kind of stuff. So I hope that that was helpful, that that process, even if you were to do a mini process of your own, even if you were just to take one of those categories and begin a conversation with your child or your children, right, around what it is that they want, how it is that they want to contribute, what would be fun for them, what makes them happy. That could be a gateway to something really incredible. So much more beautiful than even just like creating structure for your day, right? So that you can get some work done. But it leads to a greater understanding of our kids, especially in these times, which again are unprecedented. And we're all going through all kinds of different feels. We're, as adults, going through crazy different feels. And our kids, right? It's next level for them. Some of them can't even connect with what's happening or make sense of the feels that they're going through. But this structure, this knowing more and understanding more about how they see things, how they would like to contribute, what makes them happy, can really reduce the amount of energy that we spend in structuring the days, and in our work. It helps to kind of energize the day and take a lot of the guesswork out of it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've got other methods for creating some structure, for helping you to get more work done in maybe a shorter amount of time so you can enjoy your kids while they're home before we start distance learning again, right? So that you can enjoy yourself, so that you can actually be more in flow than not, right? So you can waste less time, because we ain't got a whole lot, it's finite. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas as well. If you're feeling this, go ahead and subscribe below or give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in working one-on-one, I have a couple spots open for some new one-on-one clients. We can talk about that. You can reach me at tina@tinadodds.com. I am also in the middle of my 11-week book club called the Thrive Hive. It's a book club and self-care experience. If you're looking for community, we're going to be starting again in just about 6 weeks. So you can email me and let me know you're interested in that. I can shoot you some information. You can look it up on tinadodds.com. All right, that's all the ways that we can work together if you're interested. Otherwise, I hope to see you for the next video. Be well, big love, big hugs. See you next time.